And everybody, TK here, TK and Drinks. And we're coming at you with the part two on our special open discussion about, um, rules and mead competitions and just a couple other different things. So yesterday, or 2 days ago at this point, I had posted a video with Mr. Jason Roloff of Off Balance Meadery. We had a discussion about how he had his best of show for the homebrew competition revoked from from the Valkyrie's Horn competition, and he got his point stripped and all this stuff. And I think the video is up there if you want to go watch it. You can see what he says, and you can hear from him his point of view and everything that was going on. But I had some people reaching out to me about wanting a part two, and I guess a little bit more of an update of what's been going on. So I figured I'd wait a day or two to see how hot the comments got, if there was going to be any like major backlash or anything. And I guess there's been a few comments, but nothing over the past 24 hours. So I guess I'll just go with it as it is. We had some comments in favor of, some comments kind of against what I was saying, and then I think mostly a lot of the people were not really understanding my point of view of what was going on or what I was trying to get across. I wasn't. It wasn't meant to be a slam session for the competition. It wasn't meant to be a let's throw Kevin under the bus and all this type of stuff. It was meant to be like I said, bring an open discussion on something that I hear being discussed and talked about in, more private settings. So I figured this is a more open forum than a lot of people's just private chat rooms and whatnot. So I figured I'd at least address the two biggest comments that I got, and I think they cover a lot of the topics and everything. So I'll just get into that and kind of just discuss as I go discuss what I was meaning about what I was trying to say as I go. So first, we got a pretty, I don't say heated, but certainly a sternly worded email or message from on Reddit. I don't know if I want to give the person's name away. I mean, if you go onto the Reddit mead group and you can see the post on there, you can see who it is on there. I guess I don't want to give them any more attention or less attention than they need. It says, "Hey, I'm a judge at this competition. I'm not a part of the management of the comp, and I'm not a judge that has dozens of comps under my belt. Compared to a lot of the people there, I'm a rookie, and I've been at this for over a decade." So I don't really know I guess they're just trying to set the tone. The fact that they said that they're not part of the management and that they're not like related to the comp in any way, in my opinion, I really don't see any more like need to really take their opinion any seriously. Other than that, I was really hoping when I started to read that we were going to say that they were a part of the competition management and organization, and they were going to fill me in on something. But let me read on. It says, "There's a lot of work that goes into the hosting of these, and the software that you use to put them up is a weird mix of a godsend and absolute jank. Yeah, Reggie and these other programs are definitely it's a double-edged sword, a mixed blessing, whatever you want to call it. It's really hard to edit the way they handle entries, check-ins, and clarity of info on both competitors and judges." Not really sure what that has to do with anything, to be fair. Valkyries is more lenient than most comps out there since ex-professionals can compete as a home brewer after a time. So one of the things I did want to go ahead and redact the statement, redact one of my previous statements. I said in our conversation that most competitions or all competitions probably had rules that were, very much just copy and pasted and very similar. I have to completely, I'm cutting off a bit vocally, or like the internet's going out because my internet kind of sucks. I apologize. And hopefully it's coming back in a little better. So I got thrown off there. Go back to that comment. See, he said, so anyway, rules. So the rules of the competition, I went back and checked out the rules for a couple different competitions, and I have to completely redact what I said. Rules are definitely unique to each competition. They are not a very standard copy and pasting. It looks like it because of the formatting that a lot of these competitions use. It all looks the same, so it kind of like the shapes of the paragraphs look the same. So I guess I kind of just interpreted that incorrectly as the case. So I definitely was 100% wrong on all of that. So that's definitely not the case. But and the comment is right that it does specifically stay in the Valkyrie's Horn rules that the competition does allow for judges after 2 years from the date of judging to be able to come back in after you've been a commercial mead maker, not been a commercial mead maker for 2 years. You can now re-enter as a home brewer, which is something that other competitions, as this person mentioned, don't do. I pulled up the Mazer Cup just as an example. That one says, unfortunately, if you've ever been a commercial mead maker, worked in a commercial meadery, been an employee at a commercial meadery, doesn't even say a mead maker. You could have been a bartender, a tap puller or something like that. Former production commercial mead maker are not eligible to enter. I personally know some people that fall into that category, and it's incredibly unfortunate, and they're really slamming the door in a lot of people's faces about that. But, it's their competition, their rules, just like Valkyrie Horn. If they want to have this rule in there about whatever it is, that I'm going to get farther down. I got another piece of info in here. It's their competition. Ultimately, they can put in the rules, and we got to follow the rules. So that is what it is. I'm here for that. And then the other one I picked up was that was the Domrus Cup. That one also has some rules. It just says all entries must be handcrafted products containing ingredients available to the general public and made using private equipment by hobbyist brewers. No use of commercial facilities or brew on premises operations, brewery supplies, etc. See, again, even that I think personally leaves there's a lot of vagueness to it. I think the implied thing through all of these, and again, Jason even said yesterday that he probably could have reached out and did some more, digging, I guess. He didn't feel that he necessarily had to. But there is, unfortunately, some vagueness in some of these rules that leave interpretation in there. I guess some of them maybe could I be being a little bit obstinate in the way that I'm taking these interpretations. I think that's arguable, sure, but that's what I've done for when I worked in quality in aerospace is look for discrepancies. That's my entire gig that I did was looking for discrepancies, and I see that as a huge discrepancy, at least one worth validly talking about in an open forum setting. So back to the comment over there, people that have this idea. Then it goes on to say other places have you that even if you have something monetized like an Instagram or YouTube would prevent you from entering as a home brewer forever, which is frankly ridiculous. Well, we agree on that. People have the idea that commercial scene mead is better or has better tools, and that's just not the case. The pros would get spanked absolutely by amateurs far and large. I think that's, again, the difference in between amateur and professional shouldn't be the level of equipment or, because somebody who's wealthy enough could certainly go buy quote unquote commercial grade equipment and just have it at their house, in their garage, in their backyard. And they are most definitely not selling mead and not doing all those other things, not running a social media page, but they basically have all the knowledge and all the equipment of a commercial mead maker, but just having never done it, now they could easily, again, could be interpreted as these potential different ways. So I think that's kind of, again, it's kind of I don't really get where they're trying to go with that statement. Pros, there's plenty of people that are pro now who were amateur, who were winning as amateurs, who now win as pros. So I think if you were to put everybody together, which again is another argument, you could put everybody together. There's not very many mead makers out there. Commercial and amateur together would certainly swell the numbers. You have competitions that have categories that are getting bunched together. Why should dry and semi-sweet be bunched together when you don't have enough entries in homebrew? But if you mix homebrew and commercial together, you would have enough entries to stagger these out. If this guy's going on to say that the amateurs would absolutely spank the commercial people, what's the difference? The entry fees are the same for, if you're an amateur, or if the commercial people pay their price, the amateur people pay their price. Just put them all against each other. I'm for that. I think it'd be better. If you're not sure about the type of status to compete, you have to contact the organizers. Again, I don't see in here where it says that you have to contact the organizers or anything like that. I think that's good practice to contact the organizers. And again, Jason would agree and said that himself, that, you know, that he probably should have made that judgment call. You know, there's other mead makers out there like Carlos down at Texas Longhouse Mead. He reached out, and I believe he probably did not enter that competition, I would guess, based on whatever his conversation with is. You know, and that's a completely speculation on my part. I haven't talked to either of those people about that, so I'm not exactly sure. Being former, I always ask if and that's exactly it. I understand your point completely, Tracy, and that's what I'm talking about. This is the type of conversations that need to be had. You know, there's no malice here. There's no upset. This is the types of conversations that people should be having. And again, here it is in the Valkyrie's horn. Mead produced on a commercial equipment is not permitted. Any such entries will be disqualified. Again, what is commercial equipment? That needs a greater definition. Is it commercial grade equipment that bought from a commercial equipment supplier? Because I'm pretty sure there's mead makers out there that are commercial meaderies that are out there making mead on homebrew level equipment. It's just how it is. They still have it. Is all of their mead made on that? Maybe, maybe not. But the fact is that they still use it, and it's there. The one thing, you know, and it goes on for quite a while about labeling bottles, and you know, it gets kind of convoluted, and I think they kind of lose me on what they're trying to say. It just gets into some diatribe. But one thing that they did say in there is where is it about? They said something specifically about Jason's mead. People have this idea that commercial scene is better than mead and has better tools, and that's the case. The pro boys would get spanked. I was at the table judging fruit and spice, and if Jason's is the one I recall, not my flight, but sometimes you pass around the ones worth looking at before offering them to the dump bucket. That right there is a huge that's a huge thing in my book. It would have crushed every single pro mead that I judged that weekend. You know, you should never. A collab doesn't make a home brewer pro. I agree completely. But what this person is saying is that there was a mead that was going around that somebody was offering. You know, they judged the mead that at the table. The points had already been distributed, and now they're passing that mead around before they go dump it out and saying, "Here, try this." I think personally that's a huge mistake. You shouldn't be doing that, because now if somebody tries that mead and they're going to recognize that flavor, you know, you don't know if you have some sort of sway over that person, and they're subconsciously be like, wow, I really like this person, and they're telling me that they really like this mead, so now I'm going to, you know, subconsciously also really like this mead. Now it's put a spin on it, and now the next time they taste it, maybe they give it a better score than they would have otherwise. Or maybe it could be something a little more nefarious, where it's like, hey, try this mead. And these two judges have a thing where it's like, hey, if you try this mead, if I even come at you and say, hey, try this mead, you know, drink that, memorize that flavor, and push it forward. Do I think it's that nefarious? No, but it could be. And that's the type of things that you most definitely shouldn't be doing at competitions at all, in my opinion. I think that was the biggest faux pas out of this whole thing that I'm reading. It's like, why are you guys passing around me? It's like that kind of takes the blindness out of it a little bit. You know, but then he goes on to say, Jason absolutely got dinged for, and gives a quote from Jason's Facebook page. Says it's giveaway time, and he basically goes on to the first part of a giveaway of a blueberry mead that he had made, and goes on to say that apparently this is exactly why he got ixnayed, was because he got dinged for doing giveaways and having an active LLC on a mead related name, and then using his social media accounts to basically bolster his numbers and supposedly set out illegal trades and all these things. And again, these are things that I believe are left to left to open to interpretation, because this guy even goes on to say, says, I wore my hat that I use on my labels when I hand out bottles, and no one is ever going to say boo about me having a meadery, even though I've got larger gear than some pros I've seen trying to start on, largely because of my lack of an LLC and lack of Facebook posts promoting my meadery to be. So this guy's telling, oh, so basically, sorry, I thought I'd lost all connection, but it looks like it's still going here. So basically, this guy is saying that I've got better equipment than most of the pros, at least when they're starting out. I don't do an LLC. I don't post anything on Facebook about it, but I do all the same things. I still trade my meads. I still go around and give my meads to other people. So you're saying just because you don't post about it on Facebook, that what you're doing is any less illegal? I mean, by these definitions, you go on here and talk about you've had friends visited by the alphabet boys for just having a social media account. So you make it a point to stay under the radar, and that's okay to do all those things. But once you start posting about it, then it becomes, oh no, now you've basically said the quiet part loud, and now you got to get out of the group. I'm not down with that if that's the case. I got a comment from Michael Spears, who's the head mead maker and one of the founders over at Triaxial Mead, and he had said something that I thought was really interesting. He said, responding to Jason, he said he's right. There are there are others moving through and exploring the process of licensing and have not applied for TTB or ABC licensings who haven't lost medals. I sniff around trade groups and have never seen Jason selling or trading his meads. He's always done giveaways. We all did that on the road to commercialization. Promoting homebrews is not against the rules. They should ban that for next year if it gets their underwear in a twist. I think Jason was wronged. Just my opinion. And I personally agree with him in my opinion. I'm going to say Jason was wrong. Well, yeah, I do kind of think Jason was wrong. And, like I said, yeah, maybe they should have put a caveat next to it and given him his medal and then, worked out something better for next year. But like he says, there's plenty of other people out there who have done the same thing in the past and, gotten away with it. Nobody, whether they got away with it or whether they, were not targeted particularly, maybe Jason was specifically targeted. It all looks really bad regardless of what actually is happening, which is the really unfortunate part, because we don't really know. And the guy on the Reddit thing, it goes up to end it all with, says, frankly, I don't think your video is an honest representation of the issues in this particular case, and it doesn't look like you looked at the exact details of the commercial definition. I did, again, it's completely open-ended by my interpretation of the rules. And then to say that it's not an honest representation of the issue, I'm not. The only reason I could see he would say that is because he's trying to think that I'm picking on Valkyrie's Horn and saying that they did something wrong. Again, the issue isn't Valkyrie's Horn removing the best of show due to a terms violation and removing the man's points. The issue is a lack of transparency on the reasoning behind it, the open-ended rule definition, what appears to be an inconsistent rule application. Again, not just at Valkyrie's Horn, again, all competitions, but they're the ones who are doing this one at this current time. And it's potentially weakening the trust in the competition mead scene. There's people now in these discords and comment sections like, well, now what do I do? Do I fall into this gray area? What should I do? Again, what you should do is always reach out to the competition organizer and see what they say about where you fall for their competition, because ultimately, if you're really wanting to get the feedback and be a part of the competition, that's the smart thing to do and whatnot. But at that same time, what's also a smart thing to do is have open discourse like we're trying to do and talk about the things that are upsetting people and talk about the things that could be done better. Anytime things don't change or aren't at least willing to change, it's going to grow and stagnate. And everybody knows that stagnant stuff isn't good. Let's continue to open our minds to other different ideas. Let's be cool to each other. And let's not just tell people to stay in their lane, because that's what, everybody else is just staying in their lane, so you need to stay in your lane. Like, that's really rude, and it's really condescending to everybody involved, because it's it's just basically a kinder way of, like, your parents telling you, do as I say, not as I do, or because I said so. It doesn't offer anything to the conversation as far as, growth. That is how it is. Just suck it up and deal with it. And I don't think that gets anybody anywhere, whether it comes from a place of malice or not. People are saying stay in your lane. It's, like I said, it's not something that I think should be tossed around, but it is what it is. So all in all, I guess I didn't want to go on too much about this. I just wanted to give those people that were asking, a little update on what's going on. So it says, I like mead. You know what? I guess that's, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, is I like mead. Everybody out there should try more mead. If you're good at making mead, you should probably enter into a competition, because you're going to share it with more people that way. Hoppy Growler says, if doing giveaways as a home brewer is going to be future disqualification factors, there's many home brewers that will not be allowed to enter in the future. Exactly. And that specifically is what I want to talk about, and why I want to get these things out there. Each competition is allowed to set the rules and regulations to their organization's competition as they see fit. But if you're going to do that, try to make your rules as clear as possible. And if there are, hiccups and misunderstandings or faux pas, or whatever the colloquialism you want to use, if there's an issue, don't make the person who is, don't turn one of the competition members into a victim for it, or a scapegoat, or whatever the case may be. Take the L as the competition, put a caveat next to it, and then do it up for next year. There's one thing that really threw me, though, is that there was mention of several complaints coming from outside the organization, and that wording really throws me. Complaints from outside the organization. Like, if there would be people complaining from inside the organization, I would imagine that would be like the competition organizer, or like a handful of people. Are the judges technically from within the organization? Or are they considered outside the organization? I don't know. Again, it's just a little more transparency would have been cool, but ultimately, they're going to do what they want to do. We can't force their hand, and it's not worth, it's not worth starting a mudslinging fight over or anything like that. Ultimately, I just wanted to see more transparency and more, and more open and happy people. And too much bickering. Let's all drink mead. Well, I don't have any mead on me right now. I didn't grab one, but I did grab a beer, so I'll drink a beer. And let's stop bickering about it, and let's all have a good rest of our night. And so thank you guys for listening to me wax on for a couple minutes there, and join me tomorrow night for my interview with you guys are crazy. I was judging at Valkyrie Hornet. Was one of the best run comps I've ever been involved with. Hey, I love to hear that. And you're somebody that judges at a lot of competition. So the fact that it was ran really well speaks volumes. About, because I've heard tons of stuff about competitions not going so well. And it's good to know that they're doing the best they can. I know they had some hiccups, especially at the end of, towards the end of, getting everything together. Right before the competition, they had some serious shit they had to deal with. They overcame all that and got it through and everything. So, mead making is a magical experience. Like, you have a thing with alliteration there, don't you? But, all right, everybody have a good night. And like I said, join me tomorrow night for my interview with Cassandra Gore from B&G Meadery in Oklahoma. She's the first and probably only female Native American mead maker in the country on a commercial commercial scale, at least. I don't know about homebrew. There's a lot of homebrewers out there. So, thank you all for being with me tonight. Appreciate you, Steven over there. Keep me updated on the Virginia Mead Cup and the plans for this year. Yes, we will talk about that and everything like that. All right, everybody. Appreciate you all popping in here, and I'll see you on the next time. Later.